So the Washington Commanders have just finished their first joint practice against the New England Patriots, and I have the inside scoop on headlines such as Jayden Daniels ready for an MVP season, Laremy Tunsil, the biggest addition of the entire offseason, and which position groups struggled out there on the field in Foxborough. That's right, we got all of those and a whole lot more coming up in this video, so gather around, grab your popcorn and blankets, sit down and get comfortable as I give you every detail you need to know about what went on today and how the boys are looking ahead of their first preseason game on Friday. This was the first time since January that the Commanders played a team not named the Commanders. And like I said, I'm going to make sure that you get every piece of information there is to know from the joint practice. But before I jump into that, guys, you got to do me a favor. If you have not already, scroll down that little button right there that says subscribe. Make sure you press that. I set the goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers before the first preseason game. We're 45 subscribers away, and we are 2 days away from that preseason game. So please help me achieve my goal, and know that when you press that button, you're not just signing up to receive videos from me. You are signing up to be a part of a community. I feel like, I don't know, I'm no YouTube expert, but I feel like we get a ton of comments on videos relative to the views and likes that we put out there. And that says to me that people are enjoying this community. They're enjoying the conversations, and I'm certainly enjoying it. Whether we share the same opinion, whether we differ in opinions, conversations are what allow us to move forward and understand one another. So as I always say, do hit that subscribe button and leave your comments on everything that I say as we go through this video. Also, if you want to support me, if you want to support the Commanders, if you're excited about joint practice, whatever it is, the best way to show your appreciation is by hitting the like button. It drives this video out into the YouTube algorithms more than anything else. So please do that as well. So, you ready? Here we go. Let's talk about what happened up there in Foxborough. So the Commanders went up there for a joint practice with the Patriots. Some very quick notes from Dan Quinn and Mike Vrabel before the practice started. Nothing huge from Dan Quinn. Went over a couple of omissions, people who didn't make the trip. There were 7 players in total. I didn't write them down. I'm going to try to remember them. Marcus Mariota, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Terry McLaurin, Jordan McGee, Brandon Coleman, and I'm going to need to think about the other 2 because they're not apparent to me at this time. It was nothing unexpected, let me say that. And Jayden, Tunsil, Luvu, Wagner, Lattimore, all the big name guys for the most part were out there on the field. Obviously, Terry McLaurin being excluded from that. So let's start off by talking about the offense, and let's start with the main man, Jayden Daniels. I'm going to start you off with 2 direct quotes here from Boston/Patriots reporters, just so you know what the other perspective was. Here's what an NBC 10 reporter who covered the Patriots had to say. He said, the Commanders' offense looks like they haven't skipped a beat. Without McLaurin, that is a good sign. Ben Volin of the Boston Globe said, Jayden Daniels is absolutely surgical, never misses a read. Again, I just want to start right there and set the tone. We have to keep in mind, this entire offseason, there's been so much movement on the roster. There's been the ongoing McLaurin saga. There have been concerns that Deebo Samuel is out of shape and his body's broken down. Luke McCaffrey, how's his progression? Jaylin Lane's a rookie. What can you really count on him to do? Is a 7th rounder? Is he the new starting running back? All of those concerns and all of that drama and controversy goes out when you step on the field because Jayden Daniels is that dude. Now, by all means, all reports are suggesting that his connection with Zach Ertz is even stronger than it was last year. Zach Ertz has been dominating training camp. Today, the offense starts their 11-on-11 drills by going 3 of 3. Jayden going 3 of 3. 2 of those to Zach Ertz. Always looking for him in the tight windows on the 3rd and shorts, the red zone work. It's all going to Zach Ertz because he's the only one right now who is beating their man 10 times out of 10. In man coverage, obviously. And Zach Ertz, even though he's, 35 years old now? Matter of fact, let me just Google it because I don't want to get it wrong. Zach Ertz is 34 years old. My apologies, Zach. He turns 35 on November 10th. So even though he's 34 years old, he still looks phenomenal. He looked phenomenal last year. He can still produce this season. Now, it would help if Ben Sinnott would develop, but that's another conversation for another day. Ja'Cory Brooks, didn't hear his name much today, but I did hear a report that he had a one-handed touchdown catch. So shout out to Ja'Cory Brooks. He's a guy who's going to be competing to be that sixth receiver on the depth chart. If the team keeps 6, it's possible they even keep 5. He might have to also play some special teams to get there, whether that's actually going out there and trying to make the tackles or whether that's returning kicks. He might have to give it a try, but plays like that, that's how you get on the team. Deebo Samuel also had a touchdown from Jayden Daniels as well. If I didn't mention this, Ja'Cory Brooks' touchdown was from Jayden. Deebo caught one from Jayden as well. I saw a Patriots reporter say that he was tough to cover on screens and on deep shots. And I remember a quote from Jayden earlier this year. The question, I believe, was, what has surprised you the most about Deebo Samuel? And he said, it's his deep ball tracking. And that would surprise me too. Now, I can't confirm that Deebo's like that, but we're going to see it on our TV screens soon enough. And Deebo in San Francisco, not a gadget guy. That's unfair to the talent that he possessed, but it was a lot of short and intermediate stuff, screens. He would line up as a running back, jet sweep, stuff like that. You never saw him going on these aggressive downfield routes that often, but it sounds like Jayden is comfortable throwing the ball to him. Helps that Jayden is up there for the best deep ball thrower in the NFL, but I digress. Brian Robinson Jr. want to shout his praises today because all offseason long, myself and many others have gotten caught up in the Bill hype. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, for those who don't know, Bill is his nickname. Today, didn't hear anything about Bill, but Brian Robinson Jr.'s name kept coming up. It started with him being very energetic on the sideline between plays. He was jumping around, just showing more personality than he normally does. And he also had some explosive runs. A lot of people saying he looked fast. Shouldn't come as a surprise that he looks a little better than he did last year because he was dealing with those injuries. And his availability long-term is always going to be the question. Is he going to play 17 games this year? Well, he hasn't done it once in his NFL career. And normally you're more available when you're younger than you are older. But if this is a sign that the tides are turning, then that's certainly great. And maybe you can credit Bill for bringing the competition out of BRob. But point being, I would rather have 2 good running backs than 0. So Brian Robinson Jr. had a good day. The offense overall had a good day. Jayden Daniels looked great. Keeping it on the offense, but let's talk about the offensive line here. If there's one thing that everybody seems to agree on, it's that Laremy Tunsil is a brick wall. Nobody was getting past him. There's been some disagreement. Some Patriots reporters are saying that the Patriots had gotten success up the middle, so through the A and the B gaps, but nobody is saying that they were getting past Tunsil. He drove a Patriots linebacker all the way back into the stands, threw him into the stands, and it started a mini scuffle, although that was quickly put out, so shout out to all the coaches that were on standby. NFL insider and analyst Lake Lewis Jr., direct quote here, I have to let DC know that Laremy Tunsil is up here at joint practice manhandling folks. He is a stone wall. This is also big. Also from Lake Lewis, the youngster Josh Conerly Jr. is having a day as well. JP Finley confirmed that, saying that Tunsil, Conerly, and Andrew Wiley he put in there were having great days. Again, as I mentioned, Patriots reporters suggesting they might have found success up the middle. I don't know if that includes Wiley, because Wiley's supposed to be at right tackle with Conerly rotating, but with Brandon Coleman not making the trip up to Foxborough, Wiley could have been at left guard as well. Allegretti, I heard, didn't have the best day overall. Didn't really hear anything about Biotish, but Tunsil, no doubt about it. And then several people saying that Conerly definitely held his own. And these are some of the ups and downs that you should expect from him, because he's a first-round pick. There's a player in there, and it's probably not going to take all that long to get it out of him, but he is still a 21-year-old whose concern was play strength. And you know, if you're having trouble dealing with the strength of college players, going to the NFL is definitely going to be an adjustment. But just like you're going to have some rookie moments, you're going to have some great days as well. And it does sound like today was a great day for Josh Conerly. So shout out to the bookend tackles. Jayden Daniels calls Laremy Tunsil his best friend. I don't know what their actual relationship is. I feel like that's a little too advanced considering Tunsil's only been in town for a couple of months, but you get the sentiment of it. If Tunsil's going to block for his blind side and he's not going to allow anybody to get past him, yeah, that'd be my best friend too. So really good day for the offense overall. Cannot say the same about the defense. Yeah, stop me if you heard that before. We all lived that dream, that nightmare really, many times last season. So It's interesting because the defense, despite being significantly behind the offense last year, it almost seemed as if they might have caught the offense during training camp, or at least they'd improved significantly more than the offense had. And there were a whole bunch of acquisitions and trades and free agent signings and yada yada. And the cornerback room looked like it might have been the most improved unit overall. That was not the case today. Now, let me start by saying the good thing I heard about the defense, which is that Kane Medrano, 6th-round pick, reportedly had a nice day. Just want to put that out there. Didn't get a whole lot on the defensive line. The Patriots' offensive line, I heard their protection looked better, but that's a very low bar to clear. Their offensive line couldn't block anything last year. It's tough to really evaluate the Commanders' pass rush because if they break through, they're not sacking the quarterbacks. They beat their man and they basically just peel off of the play and they let it continue. So, for example, Josh Dobbs dominated the second stringer. He's the Patriots' backup quarterback. He went 18 of 22. On how many of those plays would he have been sacked? On how many plays would a running back have been tackled for a loss in the backfield? Hard to tell because, again, the defensive lineman sort of shut off. But if we're just evaluating the corners and the guys dropping back in pass coverage, not a pretty day for the Commanders today. Everybody's saying that Pop Douglas was balling out. He was giving Mike Sainristil fits, started camp off or practice off by getting 2 quick completions over the middle. Sainristil did finish the practice with an interception in the back of the end zone on a tipped ball, but for the most part, sounded like he had a rough day, struggled to stay in front of guys. Marshawn Lattimore gave up a touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. I got involved in a scuffle later on. No surprise there. I saw somebody making a seeding chart, like a March Madness bracket with seeds of players most likely to start a fight. Marshawn Lattimore was a 1 seed, and he did start a fight today. No news on Trey Amos, since I'm talking about the corners. That can be interpreted as a good sign. Darrelle Revis was a prime example of that. Quarterbacks just would not throw to wherever Darrelle Revis was. So you didn't hear his name called very much, but that's because nobody was throwing the ball at him. He was not allowing the receiver to get open so that the quarterback could even try to throw the ball his way. Interceptions, in many ways, not always a great indicator of who's having a great season for cornerbacks. Now, they can line up, but if a cornerback gets 9 interceptions, that means opposing quarterbacks were trying him. They felt like they could get a completion there, and then he just made a play on the ball. Amos, again, I wasn't there personally, so I can't say this for sure, but if he was getting burned, we would have heard about it. If he had messed up, he would have heard about it. So I'm just going to assume that the ball didn't really come his way all that much today. So I guess that's a good thing. Drake May is also a very good player. Let's keep this in mind, guys. His teams were significantly overmatched last year, but now that there's structure, there's a good offensive coordinator with Josh McDaniels, a great head coach with Mike Vrabel. They got some more weapons. They got him a franchise left tackle with Will Campbell. They got him a running back in Travion Henderson. He is a good player. A lot of Commanders fans wanted the team to draft Drake May 2nd overall last year. So just because he plays for a different team, like if he was in the NFC East and he was the Giants quarterback, then okay, maybe I wouldn't be as complimentary of him. At least I wouldn't be so free-spirited about dishing out the compliments. But let's be honest, how often are we going to play teams in the AFC East? Once every 4 years? And the only other time would be if we see them in the Super Bowl. And are the Commanders and Patriots right now both on an immediate Super Bowl trajectory? The Commanders are a lot closer to it than the Patriots are, but it doesn't seem inevitable. So it's okay to give out the compliments. Drake May had a good day. It's one thing to say if a terrible quarterback dices you up. For Drake May, growing pains, first joint practice of the year, I'm just going to say, hey, it's a sign that maybe we were getting a little ahead of ourselves, a little ahead of our skis, and maybe there's some reevaluation to do. But we have the preseason games. We have upcoming joint practices as well. That will tell more of the tale. The McLaurin absence looms large. I want to talk about this here because Terry McLaurin, obviously not with the team right now, did not travel up to Foxborough. The Commanders ended their practice session by going 4 and out in the red zone on offense. And a lot of players, I was listening to JP Finley on the call. He and Brian Mitchell were doing something for 106.7 The Fan, where they were sort of commentating practice, but not really because they couldn't give away too many details. And the camera was on, but it was on them. They couldn't show the field. But they had a conversation at the end of practice where they were like, man, in some of these high leverage plays. Zach Ertz is getting the majority of the work, but these 3rd and shorts, these 4th and shorts, also close to the goal line. It feels like guys are struggling to get open, struggling to find the tight windows and zone coverage, struggling to make contested catches, and that's where Terry McLaurin's absence is having the biggest effect. Now, there was a report yesterday, I want to say it was from Diana Rossini, but I could be wrong about that, but the report indicated that Terry McLaurin's contract hang-up is now more about the guaranteed money than it is the average annual value. And it felt like for the longest time, the Commanders had more leverage than Terry. And to a certain extent, they still do. But on days like today, where you feel his absence, that's where he regains his leverage. So although he wasn't there, it wouldn't surprise me if his agent, Buddy Baker, was or is getting updates from people who are there and is calling the Commanders saying, hey, these are the moments where you miss Terry McLaurin. Is he going to be a Jamar Chase guy who gets 100 yards every single game? No. But on the big plays, he's your most dependable player. And again, his absence was noted today. Some special teams updates. Jaylin Lane, despite being listed 2nd on the depth chart for punt returners, he was the first player to go back when they practiced those. This is what I mentioned when I put out my video reacting to the unofficial depth chart. In many ways, it was a load of crap. It was lip service. Aside from starters, they were just ordering the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th stringers by who's been here the longest, who's played the most years in the NFL. Jaylin Lane's going to be returning punts. Not a real conversation to be had. Matt Gay, kicker, was good close up. Started going haywire from about 45 to 50 yards. That was exactly what happened last year. He did not miss a single kick inside the 50-yard line. He only went 3 of 9 from beyond 50. Now, the Commanders seem to be content going for a lot of 4th downs. So if the ball's at, if the ball's at the 35-yard line, and that means it's a 52-yard field goal, they're probably going to go for it on 4th down. And the way I look at this, they probably don't even care that he's bad from 50 plus because they probably don't plan on really kicking it from there a whole lot. That's just the way I look at it. But still, would be nice if he would make those kicks. Starters are going to be sitting out of the preseason game on Friday. This is how I'm going to close out the show here. Dan Quinn confirmed that Jayden Daniels, Tunsil, all the other big-name players, they were going to get a lot of reps during practice today, and that's because they are not playing against the Patriots on Friday. With Mariota also dealing with a lower leg strain, that means Sam Hartman and Josh Johnson will be splitting the reps. This will essentially be one of their 2 auditions, assuming the 3rd preseason game is the other. This will be one of their 2 auditions for that quarterback 3 job. You're also going to see the other young guys, your Kane Madranos, your Dominique Hamptons, guys like that. Don't know if Conerly Jr. is playing or not. We will wait to see. And yeah, that's all the notes I have. So guys, that is going to do it for your update from Commanders-Patriots joint practice. What are your thoughts? What are your biggest takeaways? What are you hoping to see on Friday? Everything that you've got going on up here, put it down there in the comments section. I'll be reading all of them, trying to respond to as many people as I possibly can. Also, please just keep the conversations going. I love this about the community on the channel. If you guys have not hit that subscribe button, make sure you do so. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We're right there. We can do it. I know you guys can. You guys have been unreal so far, and let's carry that momentum over. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day.